Hello and welcome back to another video. I'm Zelp, and today I'm gonna kind of rant a little bit about Kurtzpel because the game just doesn't seem to be doing what I thought it's going for. It kind of wander off in a different path, and I feel like that path is not good. It's not good for the players. It's probably not going to be good for the game, and I think the game's going to suffer over time. So although it would seem like they have more players, but it's also possible that they have reduced the number of channels, and also due to the amount of time they've given to grow. Now that I think about it, they actually did not get as many players as I thought they would. So Kurtzpel is a PvP intensive game, and individual player skills plays a huge role in these kind of games. That means that the only reason why you want to spend time in Kurtzpel is to kind of develop muscle memory and knowledge of how to do certain things, and your skill is what counts at the end of the day in defeating your opponent. But one thing they changed is that they made such that your equipment now matters as well. And how good your equipment is, you really have to invest time in grinding and getting those magic stone things to get the stats that you want. So it's no longer the kind of game that you can just start as a new player and immediately you are at the same, at least equipment wise, same level as the opponent. And how well or how fast you can actually find ways to defeat your opponent is all depends on skill. And I just don't really like that fact for a competitive game. If you were to look at games like all the MOBA games, Dota, LOL, or even games like Fortnite, we all start with the same, health bar, with the same things that we can do. And what sets us apart is our skill and knowledge of the game. And I always thought that Kurtzpel was leaning towards that direction. But now it seems like you have to go through some kind of grind in order to be able to be as good as some people who has more time to spare. Now the second thing that I have an issue with is that if you're rich and you have a lot of money, you can kind of get those equipment really quickly relatively to someone that is poor and he has to farm through, because basically you don't exactly work towards a certain stats or certain build that you want to go for. You kind of have to take this chance and kind of roll for the perfect stats that you want on your weapon. And it's possible to roll a really bad stat, and it's possible to roll a really good stat, and you kind of have to keep going through that process over and over again. And if you're really unlucky, it's even possible that you'll never get what you want. And although this is true for someone that invests money into game, but they will have it a lot easier, to the point where I would say that it's somewhat pay to win, even though technically it's not really. And finally, the third point I would say is that they seem to have removed a lot of the life in the game. Like, I don't see myself in any dialogues with the NPCs. I don't feel like I need to go through a mission anymore, because they basically remove all the quests where you get a new karma. And I just outright don't know what's what. I just know that there are these weapons that I want, I get them, and I start grinding through. They also remove the fact that you get to pick what missions you go into. And I heard that it refreshes on a daily basis. Like, for example, if today you fight with some undead boss, and no matter how many times you try, that particular mission is going to give you that undead boss. So there is no longer that option to sort of like min-max the condition. Like, for example, if you know of a certain boss that you can go through really quickly, you can do that over and over again so that you get more credits or something like that. So in a way it's good because everyone gets to experience different dungeons, but it also kind of removes that sort of sense of freedom from the players to choose what they like and what they want to train on. Now lastly, I want to talk about the PvP system. I remember in the past, in one of my Kurtzpel videos, I said that it would be really good for the players if they have one-on-one PvP, because that is situations where you learn the most and you learn the fastest, because there are no other noise coming in, like other factors coming in when there are more players. So you get a lot of time to understand how the opponent's skill works and how your skill will work against him. and also like what skill can counter what skill. And in a weird way, they did kind of allow it, but then you are fighting against a bot in practice mode. It's basically the training ground, but this time the dummy, attacks as well. And it doesn't really represent a player well enough. Now, the second thing that I really dislike is the fact that instead of having that one-on-one that we talked about, now they have PvP that is 3v3. And I don't think you can go in like 2v2 anymore unless it's custom. So they actually not only did not reduce the amount of players that have to join in one of those battles, but they actually increased it into a 3v3, 6 players, so many other factors, so many variables involved where things can just go haywire and there's very little control that you can have. And I feel like at the end of the day, games like Kurtzpel, PvP games, competitive games, it comes down to control. Like how much control it actually gives you when you play that game. The more control that you feel that you have, the more likable the game is. Now this is just my opinion, and it's one of the reasons why I like Fortnite so much, because if you win a fight with someone, you know that it's because you are in control, you're in better control over your opponent, you outplay them, that kind of thing. It's very frustrating when you die due to other factors like being sprayed by 2 different directions, there's nothing you can do, things like that. And they basically made it more like that than it used to be. And that is just such a turn off. And that's the reason why I don't think I want to be playing Kurtzpel anymore. So with that, I'm gonna end this video here. I'll probably be game hunting and hopefully find something interesting soon. Meanwhile, my internet is still having issues, so it actually took me a while to just make this short recording. You might see some background images kind of looping, or maybe I might use some older video stuff just to put it in. That's solely because I couldn't get any footage, simply because my internet is not working. I also want to thank Starlin. He messaged me on Discord and he explained a lot of things about Kurtzpel and the updates. Sadly, I only get to read it like halfway through until my Discord disconnected as well due to the internet. So I'll finish reading that, and who knows, maybe my opinion would change on the game. But currently, from what I've heard, from what I've witnessed so far, I really don't like what Kurtzpel has become. To me, it feels like they have sort of given up on the game. They do not want to put as much time into the game to come up with stories, to make more servers, to hold more players. So instead of having multiple 1v1 rooms, they have like, 3v3s where they kind of lump everyone together. I don't know. I feel like they're cutting costs in certain ways so that maybe they can trash the game at the end of the day. Maybe they just have something else that they want to focus on, or maybe after hearing about Blue Protocol, they feel like they couldn't compete, and if anyone wants to play this kind of genre of game, people might actually play that one instead of this one, so they have given up on the game. I don't really know, I'm just throwing ideas out. And I do understand the fact that it's really hard to stop, especially if you have developed skills that makes you really good or one of the top players in Kurtzpel. So for now, I'm going to say bye-bye to Kurtzpel. Maybe after another major update, if any changes was made. But until then, I think that's pretty much it. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you guys tomorrow, hopefully. And bye-bye.